Serie A stadiums that no longer exist. Stadio Velodromo Umberto I. The Velodrome Humbert I, situated in Turin, was a historic football stadium that was named after King Humbert I of Italy. Constructed in 1895, it was well known for its cycling track encircling the football pitch, which was a unique feature during that time. The stadium could accommodate up to 15,000 spectators and was mainly used for football matches. Juventus, as well as Torino, had made the Velodrome Humbert I their home ground, and the stadium had hosted numerous football matches, including some of the early games of the Italian national team. It played a significant role in the early development of football in the country, and its importance can be gauged by the fact that it hosted the first ever Italian football championship match in 1898, where Internazionale Torino took on FBC Torinese. In 1905, Juventus won their first ever Scudetto in this stadium. The stadium had a distinct character and charm, with its wooden stands and the cycling track surrounding the football pitch. However, it was shut down in 1917 due to safety concerns. The wooden stands were regarded as unsafe for spectators, and the stadium was closed. In its place, there are now various buildings and shops. Stadio de Corsi Sebastopoli. Located in Turin, the Stadio de Corsi Sebastopoli was a football stadium that served as the home ground of Juventus Football Club from 1908 to 1922, until the club moved to the Stadio de Corso Marsiglia. Opened on the 8th of March 1908, the stadium had a capacity of 10,000 spectators and was situated in the south of the city on Corso Sebastopoli. The stadium consisted of a single stand, which was covered and featured wooden benches for spectators. The stadium was closed in 1922 due to its limited capacity and poor facilities that were no longer sufficient for Juventus's growing fan base. Today, in its place, is Stadio Olimpico Grande Torino. Campo Juventus. Campo Juventus, a football stadium located in Turin, served as the home ground of Juventus Football Club from 1922 until they moved to the Stadio Olimpico Grande Torino in 1933. Although it was no longer Juventus's primary stadium, Campo Juventus remained in use as a training ground and reserve team venue until its closure in 1939. The stadium was opened in 1922 and could accommodate around 15,000 spectators. It was situated in Via Druento, in the northern part of Turin, and was constructed on a small hill, providing a picturesque view of the surrounding landscape. Despite being a modest stadium with a simple rectangular pitch and only a few rows of uncovered wooden stands, Campo Juventus hosted many significant matches, including Juventus's first ever Serie A game in 1929, which ended in a 2-1 victory over Torino. During their time at the stadium, Juventus went on to win 4 national titles. Following Juventus's move to the Stadio Mussolini, Campo Juventus was utilised by the club's reserve team and also as a training ground for the first team. However, due to its outdated facilities and limited capacity, the stadium gradually fell into disuse. In 1939, Campo Juventus was closed and later demolished. In its place, there are now apartment buildings. This video is sponsored by Soccer Atos. Are you looking for high-quality football jerseys to show your support for your favourite team? Then check out Soccer Atos, where you will find a wide selection of jerseys from teams all around the world. And when at checkout, use 10% discount code TFC. Campo Testaccio. Campo Testaccio was a football stadium situated in Rome, which served as the home ground of AS Roma during their early years from 1929 to 1940. The stadium had a seating capacity of 20,000 spectators and was one of the first stadiums in Italy to have a concrete grandstand, while the other 3 stands were made of wood. One of the most noteworthy moments in the history of Campo Testaccio was the clash between Roma and Juventus during the 1935-36 season, which drew a full house and was regarded as one of the most significant matches in the history of Italian football. The stadium was closed in 1940, and there is no trace of it today. The stadium was briefly reconstructed in the year 2000 to be used by a local team, but it was eventually demolished in 2011. Stadio Partenopeo. The Stadio Partenopeo, also known as Stadio Giorgi Ascarelli, was a football stadium located in Naples. Constructed in 1929, the stadium became the home of Napoli Football Club from 1930, with a seating capacity of 40,000. The stadium was chosen to host 2 matches during the 1934 World Cup. However, the stadium's glory days were cut short during World War II in 1942, when Allied forces bombed Naples, causing significant damage to the stadium and many other buildings in the city. Stadio Partenopeo was not spared and was completely destroyed in the attack. In the aftermath of the bombing, the remains of the stadium were taken over by homeless people who turned it into a slum. This led to further deterioration of the structure, making it beyond repair. Eventually, the decision was made to demolish the stadium completely. In its place, there are now apartment buildings. Stadio Nationale PNF. In Rome, a grand stadium with a seating capacity of 47,300 was opened on the 10th of June 1911. Lazio played at this stadium from 1931 to 1953, and Roma from 1940 to 1953. The stadium was named after the National Fascist Party and underwent renovations in 1928 to prepare for a game between Italy and Hungary. In addition to domestic matches, the stadium hosted 3 games during the 1934 World Cup, including the semi-final and final. The Italian team lifted the World Cup with a 2-1 win against Czechoslovakia after extra time, in front of a massive audience of 55,000. Unfortunately, the stadium was forced to close its doors in 1953, marking the end of its glory days. Although it was once a symbol of national pride, the stadium was eventually reduced to rubble in 1957 and replaced by the Stadio Flaminio. Stadio della Rondinella. The Rondinella Stadium, situated in the Flaminio district of Rome, was a significant sports facility that served as the home stadium of Lazio. It opened on the 1st of November 1914 and had a total seating capacity of over 15,000, with stands developed on 3 sides of the pitch. During World War I, the stadium was repurposed as a war garden, and sports activities came to a halt. After the war, the stadium underwent renovations, and a covered wooden grandstand was added, featuring the team's colours and resting on a brick base. Additional facilities such as 4 changing rooms with showers, the caretaker's house and a warehouse were built. The Rondinella Stadium hosted Roma for its first 2 home games, including a historic 9-0 victory against Cremonese, and the first derby between Lazio and AS Roma, which ended in a 1-0 victory for Roma. However, the Rondinella Stadium was damaged in a fire in 1957, leading to its demolition and conversion into a parking lot. Stadio del Lorio. The Lorio Stadium was built in 1927 in the Cornigliano Liga district of Genoa as a football stadium designed in the English model, with a capacity of up to 15,000 spectators. It was constructed during the fascist regime and served as the home stadium for Lod Dominente, Liguria, Sampierre d'Arenense and Cornelianese. The Sampierre d'Arenense team's significant ascent from the 3rd division to the top tier of the league was facilitated by the stadium, culminating in their promotion to Serie A during the 1933-34 season, their best season in Serie A during 1938 and 39, and their promotion from the 1940-41 Serie B. The stadium suffered damages during the war and was partially restored to serve as a training ground for Sampdoria in its early years of operation. Later, it was renamed the Valerio Bacigalupo Stadium in honour of the goalkeeper. However, in 1958, the stadium was permanently demolished. A bus station stands in its place today. Stadium di Viale Piave. The Porta Venezia district in Brescia was the location of a stadium on Viale Pieve, which served as the home ground for Brescia from 1924 to 1959. Constructed in 1920 on a 20,000 square metre plot of land by Giuseppe Fresci, on behalf of the Società Sportiva Gymnasium, Sports Association of the Fathers of Peace, the stadium was officially opened on the 19th of June 1921. Brescia Football Club started using the stadium for their matches during the 1924-25 season. Initially, the team paid rent to use the stadium, but in 1928 they changed their uniforms to feature a white V on blue shirts, which secured the team's perpetual free use of the stadium. A fire destroyed the wooden grandstand in 1935, but a new grandstand was erected, doubling the seating capacity to 1,200. On the 29th of May 1949, the stadium was renamed in honour of Mario Rigamonti, a Brescia footballer who died in the Superga tragedy. In 1959, the stadium was closed and later demolished. In 1967, a school building was constructed on the site. Stadio Markantonio Bentegodi, 1906. The Markantonio Bentegodi Stadium, commonly known as Vecchio Bentegodi, was a football stadium situated in the Piazza Cittadella area of Verona. It was constructed in 1910, and various city teams, including Bentegodi Verona and Hellas, used it for their matches. After the merger between Hellas and Bentegodi at the beginning of the 1928-29 season, the municipality renovated the old field of Piazza Cittadella and transformed it into the Stadio Bentegodi, in line with the financial facilities defined by the law for the construction of the sports fields of the Littorio. Verona started playing their home matches there from 1928 to 1933, having previously used Borgo Venezia Field. The stadium witnessed Verona's debut in Serie A during the 1957-58 season. A new stadium with the same name was built in 1963 at a different location, and the stadium was demolished. In 1987, an underground car park was built in the stadium's location. Campo degli Sports. The Campo degli Sport in Bari was built in 1925 by FC Liberty as a sports field for the growing needs of the club and to provide the city with its own facility. It was inaugurated in December of the same year with a friendly match between Liberty and Anconitana. The stadium underwent some adjustment works in 1928, but by 1931 a private tender was called to adapt the stadium to the current regulations. However, the last official match of the Bari first team was played there in November 1934 before moving to a new Stadio della Vittoria, and the facility was used for training and matches of the red and white youth teams. After World War II, the refounded Liberty and Ideal used it for amateur games and tournaments, while foot races, gymnastics and horse races were held there as well. The stadium was demolished in 1967. Stadio Moretti. The Moretti Stadium was a stadium located in Udine that was constructed in 1920. It was closed in 1976 and eventually demolished in 1998. It was home to Udinese from 1924 to 1976 and held 25,000. When sport resumed after the war, Udinese continued their home games at the Moretti Stadium and achieved their greatest result in 1954-55, when they finished second in the standings behind Milan, coming close to winning the Scudetto. The stadium had an oval dirt track that hosted speedway bike races, making it a unique venue. With the construction of the Stadio Frueli, the Moretti Stadium began to deteriorate and became the sports centre for Udinese's Primavera team. In its final years, only the covered grandstand remained, and the stadium was demolished in 1998, making way for the Moretti Urban Park. Stadio Delle Alpi. Located in Turin, the stadium opened on the 31st of May 1990. It had a capacity of 69,000. The name meant Stadium of the Alps, a reference to the nearby Alps mountain range. The stadium was primarily used by the two major football clubs of Turin, Juventus and Torino. It was known for its unique oval-shaped design, with a running track separating the playing field from the stands. This feature, however, meant that the fans were situated far away from the action, making it difficult to create a lively atmosphere during matches. The stadium was originally built for the 1990 World Cup, where it hosted 5 matches. Despite being a modern and impressive stadium, the Stadio Delle Alpi was criticised for its poor sightlines and lack of atmosphere. In addition, it was expensive to maintain, and the running track made it less suitable for football matches. As a result, plans were made to demolish the stadium and replace it with a new, more football-focused stadium. The stadium was demolished in 2009, and the new stadium, the Juventus Stadium, was built on the same site and opened in 2011. Stadio Matusa. Stadio Matusa was a stadium located in Frosinone. The stadium was inaugurated on the 2nd of September 1932 and has a capacity of 10,000. Over the years, the stadium underwent several renovations, including the installation of floodlights in 1978 and the construction of a new grandstand in 1983, increasing the seating capacity to 12,000. The stadium was the home ground of Frosinone Calcio. In the 2014-15 season, Frosinone Calcio achieved a promotion to Serie A for the first time in its history and played its home matches at the Stadio Matusa. However, due to its limited capacity and facilities, the stadium was not suitable for hosting Serie A matches, and the club played some of its home matches at the Stadio Olimpico in Rome. In 2017, the Stadio Matusa was demolished, and Frosinone moved to a new stadium, the Stadio Benito Sturb. Today, the site is Matusa Park. Stadio Sant Elia. Located in Cagliari, the stadium was named after the district of Sant Elia, in which it was located. It was the home stadium of Cagliari Calcio. The stadium opened in 1970 and had a capacity of 23,486. The construction of the stadium was intended to meet the needs of the Cagliari football team, which had previously used the Amsicora Stadium. Over the years, the stadium underwent several renovations and upgrades, including the installation of new lighting, sound systems, and video screens. In 1993, the stadium hosted the Italian Cup final between Torino and Roma. In 2012, the stadium was temporarily closed due to safety concerns and the need for renovation work. Cagliari Calcio played their home games at the Stadio Nerio Rocca in Trieste, over 1,000 kilometers away from Cagliari. After several years of uncertainty and delay, a new stadium project was proposed to replace the outdated Sant Elia Stadium. In 2017, the stadium was closed and the new stadium was built next to it as a replacement. The stadium is currently partly abandoned, and is expected to be fully demolished to make way for the new Cagliari Stadium. Comment below which of these stadiums was your favourite.